defenders, they shiver. Goalkeepers nervous, strikers, they'll deliver. Crowd roars erupted. You can
You're welcome to the Ugamad Football Channel. So today we're talking about the new faces. You've seen some new faces in the list for the Unity Cup. So I just want to talk about them, give some insight on some of those new faces. And turns out we've got a couple of players from the Nigerian Premier Football League. So we'll talk about them, and I'll give my opinion about the inclusion of these players in the team. I'd like to know what your thoughts and opinions are as usual. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, you're new, please do that. It really does help the channel. If you haven't liked this video, please like the video and share it as well. It really does help. So let's go straight into it. So the list is released. I'll just run through it again. And then, so we have Stanley Wabali, Maduka Okoye, and Maso Basuge. Those are the goalkeepers. We've got Bruno Yemachi, of course, Olaino, Semi Ajayi, Igogbu, Ifeanyi Onyebuchi, Junior Onduka, Sadiq Ismaila, Ojetoye, Felix Ago, that seems to just train with the team because I don't think he's got international clearance yet to play for Nigeria. And then for midfielders, we've got Wilfred Ndidi, Frank Onyeka, Chris Santos Uche, Papa Mustafa, Collins Ubueze, Xavier Isaac. And then we've got, for the attackers, for the forwards, rather, we've got Samuel Chukwueze, Moses Simon, Kelechi Iheanacho, Nathan Teller, Cyril Disas, Tolu Arokodare, Musa, Ahmed Musa, Sikiru Alimi, Abubakar Adamu. Now, we see notable names like Ademola Lookman missing from this list, Victor Osimhen missing as well, Lookman missing from the list as well. But we know they were never going to make it onto this list because they have their club commitments, and probably they need to have some rest and then join the team after the friendly match against Russia, and then probably would then play in what obviously would play in the World Cup qualifiers. Now, there's some names I want us to look at and talk about, some new names, some new faces in this team. Now, we've got Chris Santos Uche as the first one I want to talk about. Chris Santos Uche plays for Getafe. He's been one of their most influential players. Sometimes he's been asked to play close to the striker, but for all intents and purposes, he's a midfielder. And for me, he should have made his debut for Nigerian Super Eagles a long time ago. Not to say a long time ago, but certainly long before this list, because for the World Cup qualifiers, we're expecting him to make that sort of to make his debut in that game, to be called up for that set of fixtures. He was indeed in the first 39-man list, and then for some odd reason he was dropped from the list, and then you had the likes of Al-Hassan Yusuf take his spot for me, which was really, really strange, because I don't think Al-Hassan Yusuf is close enough to being who Chris Santos Uche is, and I know what Chris Santos Uche can bring to this team. So it's nice to see him that he's part of the team, and hopefully he makes his debut, going into the game. So he is a new face, although you say he had been invited previously, but he didn't get to play, and hopefully he gets to make his cap. He gets to have his first international cap, for the Nigerian Super Eagles, and indeed gets to play. And earlier on in the season, he was linked to move to Chelsea. I don't think it was that concrete, but he was linked to move to Chelsea, and I think he would have done very well at Chelsea because he's got the tools to play there. He's got the tools in terms of his athletic ability, his technique on the ball. But one odd thing would be for me is that possibly Enzo Maresca would have decided to play him in some odd, weird position, looking at the physicality, and decide, okay, I'm going to play him as a 10. I'm going to play him as an 8, when he's not. For me, he's a box-to-box midfielder, a 6, but a box that can go two-way, box-to-box, do the defending side of the game and also do the attacking side of the game, and being creative on the ball as well. So for me, happy that he is on this list, and indeed will get to make his debut. I'm talking about other players as well, on this list. So for me, for you out there, are you happy with his inclusion? Let me know your thoughts and opinion. For me, I'm very happy with it. And then the one player I want to talk about, I don't think he's going to play. I've mentioned that earlier on. He is Felix Ago, left back for Werder Bremen, and he can play as left wing back. He can play as a left winger sometimes if needs be, and he can sometimes as well play as a right winger. But don't tell Eric Chelle that, because Eric Chelle, for some odd reason, decided to play Olaina at left back, and I just hope when and if Felix Agu gets the full clearance to play for Nigeria, it doesn't end up being played as a right back, because that would just be odd. For me, I don't get this idea where you have supposed modern coaches just deciding to play players out of position for some odd reason, especially when you have, players that are naturally suited to play in those positions. So, and then, for me, Felix Agu obviously is not going to play, but I think it's good to have him within the setup while, his papers, nationality switch papers are being worked on, are being prepared, so he knows he's part of the Super Eagles setup. And so, what do I think Christian Uche can do, for the Nigerian Super Eagles? I think he can give that strength, he can give that physicality, he can allow, or rather give license to your Ademola Lookmans, your, Victor Osimhen, your Chukwuezes, to attack. You can give that license to attack because you have someone solid behind there. And then as well, since for some reason Wilfred Ndidi always seems to come up, always seems to be on the list, each time you have an international break or international game, then you could always have him by the side of Wilfred Ndidi, and he can help do some dirty work for Wilfred Ndidi, because I think Ndidi right now is losing some of his legs, is losing some of his physicality. So if you have someone like Christian Uche by his side, then I think that would help him a fair bit. But for me, I also think that, yes, we have Christian Uche in the team, and I'm so happy about it because I think he's a wonderful player. I also think to make this midfield really tick, if you're going with a 3-man midfield, then I would like to have Ebenezer Kensimiro and Rafael Onyedika as part of that 3-man midfield. So you have 3 of them there that both have the energy, both have the legs, to go up and down, and then you have the control that Ebenezer Kensimiro can give to you, therefore allowing Christian Uche and Rafael Onyedika, to actually be more attack-minded. So that's my thoughts on this. So let me know your thoughts on Christian Uche. So there's also talk about Felix Agu. I've just mentioned him, and then one of the another new face as well. He's from the Nigerian Premier Football League, the NPFL, and I think he plays for Rangers, if I'm not mistaken. His name is Ifeanyi Onyebuchi. So he is a defender. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, he's got to look at Onyebuchi, one of them, 24-year-old Enugu Rangers centre back, scored 2 goals just completed the season. So for a defender scoring 2 goals, it doesn't really say much, but that means, okay, you get yourself in and around set pieces, so you come up with goals. So, but defenders, you're not judging them based on their goal scoring. You want to see how they make tackles, how they read play, how they man mark during set pieces and during open play as well. You want to see their physicality. So let's see what it's all about. On here they say he scored 2 goals just from the season, which shows I don't have faith to venture forward. He also very strong, but technicality might be an issue. So he has the physicality, to match up with people, with attackers, but then technicality, his ability to be technical on the ball may be an issue. So for me, if that's the case, then that's a massive red flag, because gone are the days when you just power. You need to have that guile about as a defender. You need to be good on the ball. You need to be able to read play. Thiago Silva for Chelsea, not the most physical of defenders, but he's able to read play. Even Rudiger, with all his physicality, with all his aggressiveness on and off the ball, he's also very sharp up here, and he can read play very well. He can mark his man very well, take his man out of the game very well with his intelligence on and off the ball. So let's just see what Ifeanyi Onyebuchi can do going into these Unity Cup games. One for sure against Ghana, and then we either play so the winner of the game then either goes on to play Jamaica or Trinidad Tobago. So let's see what Ifeanyi Onyebuchi can do, as opposed to Onyebuchi Obasi, who I have been calling now for. So let me know your thoughts and opinions in the chat, in the comment section. So let's go. And then we go on to talk about another one, which is Junior Nduka. It says here Nduka was one of the standout players for Remo Stars in the run-up to the MPFL. 21-year-old defender. Is a solid and ruthless defender. He's also very good in aerial situations. So it's nice to see some home-based players coming in. But then again, like I always say, your best players are never home-based, but fair enough, you give them the chance. 21, aggressive, tough defender. Let's see what he can do. Maybe this can be an opportunity for him to show that, okay, to showcase himself to better clubs out there. You know, that look, I'm here, I'm a top defender. I can mark the likes of Kudus, I can mark, you know, whoever Trinidad Tobago have to offer. You know, I can mark Jamaican attackers like your what's just still I forgot quite his name, Leon Bailey, that plays for Aston Villa. He's one of their attackers. Missing Greenwood as well. It's about switching his national team allegiance from England to Jamaica, and has had a fantastic season for Olympique Marseille in the French league. So I don't know if he gets to play this game, but if he does get to play this game, then the likes of Junior Nduka and Ifeanyi Onyebuchi would have their hands full, because Jamaica, just like Nigeria, in the sense of they have a deep talent pool. It's just about accessing those talents. That's just the issue. It's just about accessing those talents and making their league up to par, up to standard, where you have your players willing to stay back and play in your own domestic league until at least they get to a point where they're top class players and can attract you some. So that a bit similar in that way. And then Jamaica as well have players in England who have dual nationality, who have both English and Jamaican nationality and can switch. So like Raheem Sterling has Jamaican nationality, citizenship, as well as, you know, English citizenship, but he obviously plays for England. So let's see what Junior Nduka is able to do in that game. If it's physicality, if it's aggression on the ball, aggression in defensive, and 1v1 opportunities. Let's see what he's able to do. And then we go on to Waliyu Ojetoye. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, my Yoruba brothers. Waliyu Ojetoye. So Waliyu Ojetoye had a very good season, leading Ikorodu City. You know, as team captain, he produced 10 assists and 1 goal. Now, that's all nice. That's all good to talk about. It's all good to say. But I'm not trying to judge him based on another player. But when you say a home-based defender has come up with a lot of assists, it calls to question, because he had Sadiq Ismaila that had, I think, was it 10 assists as well, or 10 or 12 assists, and then come game day, I think it was the World Cup qualifiers against Benin Republic, then there was a struggle, then he couldn't quite cut it. But in his defense, I think Finidi George just had the players in shambles. So let's see what Ojetoye is able to do against the likes of Ghana, like of Jamaica. Let's see. Not all too convinced about him, but maybe that's because I don't know a whole lot about him, but I'm not all too convinced. So willing to be convinced. Open here to see players come in and perform and surprise me and surprise us. That's all we hope to see. That's all we want to see. He's the captain for Ikorodu City in the Nigerian Premier Football League. Let's see what he's all about. Come, the Unity Cup, and then maybe the friendly match as well. He gets to play. Let's see how all that shakes down. Then we'll talk about Collins Ugueze. Yes, he is another player for Enugu Rangers, 24-year-old midfielder. And then last season, Ugueze contributed 2 goals and 1 assist in 30 league games. He is a hard worker and a good passer of the ball. Now, for a midfielder, when you come up with just 2 goals and 1 assist, it gets me scratching my head. So, are you a defensive midfielder? Are you so defensive like N'Golo Kante, where you're imperious in the back? You're a tough tackler. You really play very well. Are you that kind of a player? But it's a little red flag to me when a midfielder can't come up with more than 5 to 6 assists. But let's say he's a defensive midfielder and doesn't get to score that many goals. Maybe he's a tough tackler. Let's see what he can bring to the table if indeed he gets to play. This fair opportunity for him. Let's see if indeed after this game he ever gets to play. That's another thing about this Unity Cup that I've spoken about. You know, it's one thing just calling every Tom, Dick, and Harry and say, come play for the Nigerian Super Eagles, but do they have the quality, or at least the potential, to come in and then impress so you can invite them at next time. Are they good enough that they may not be, the first choice in that position, but they're a solid number two? So those are things that we need to consider when inviting players to Nigerian Super Eagles. But anyway, he's here. Chinemerem Ugweze, let's see what it's all about. Enugu Rangers midfielder, supposedly a top talent in Nigerian Premier Football League, 24-year-old. Let's see how it shakes down. And then we move to Xavier Isaac, another Enugu Rangers player. So it seems this home base sort of part of the list is dominated by Enugu Rangers. So it says big things for Nigerians. Say for Nigeria, Xavier Isaac is coming off a very good season with the Flying Antelopes. Saw his contribute 9 goals and 3 assists in 31 games. He's has incredible work rate, moves box to box, and lives to strike the ball from range. So if a midfielder gets you 3 assists and 9 goals, so that's essentially 12 goals, 12 goal contributions. That's not too bad. That's not too bad, especially if you're playing as a defensive midfielder and you go box to box. That's not too bad if you can come up with that for your club. That's a sort of a decent return. But for me, can you then take what you've done and translate that to the Nigerian national team setup, to the Super Eagles setup? So that's the question. That's something that will be lingering over his head until and when he makes his debut. But so let's see. Hopefully he comes and impresses. Eric Chelle come and impresses us as we watch the game. Hopefully I'll be there on live. If not, probably we'll be doing a live stream on here, watch along. So let's see how it all shakes down. So for me, I have nothing about the Nigerian Premier Football. I have nothing against the Nigerian Premier Football League, but for me, I just feel like the NFF are not quite doing enough, to make the league what it needs to be, what it has to be. You have top players, of good quality, but the thing is, the way the league is set up, the best players always leave very early. So sometimes you see players scores 5, 6 goals, maybe 7 assists, and it's gone. So that always, makes me wonder a bit when someone is invited from the, NPFL, if indeed that player is indeed as good as people say. But fair dues, give them the opportunity to come showcase themselves, to come play and show you what they're about. And then the next one, and this is where I begin to have problems with this, because you can have your defenders scoring 1 goal, 2 goals. You can have a midfielder, scoring 9 goals with 3 assists. That's okay. But when you begin to head to the path of the striker, and the striker in 31 games is unable to get to double digits in goals, not just in goals and assists, but in goals, then for me, that's a massive, huge, gigantic red flag. That's a huge red flag, in my opinion. A striker that can get you 10 goals in the MPFL, for me, has no business being on any type of list. That's how I say it. So we're talking about Abubakar Damu. Abubakar Damu is one of the experienced domestic campaigners in the squad. He played for Eimba, Rivers United, and now Plateau United. Say forward is nifty ability game. But so let's go to. It says he contributed 6 goals and 5 assists in 30 appearances for Plateau United. That is not good enough. That is not good enough. 6 goals, 5 assists, so 11 goal contributions in 30 appearances. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. For me, if you're inviting players from the Nigerian Premier Football League, it should be the absolute best. The absolute best. That's what you should be looking to invite. You're not inviting every run-of-the-mill player, every average player. You should be looking to invite the absolute best from the league. That's it. The people say, but if it was in Premier League, no, because the Nigerian Football Federation, the National Sports Commission haven't done enough to bring the Nigerian Premier League to that level where you can say, let's rub shoulders with the Premier League, let's rub shoulders with the French League, La Liga, because they've not done enough. So if you're inviting a player, it has to be the absolute best in the league. So for me, you should be inviting the best goalkeeper. The goalkeeper with the most clean sheets, the best defenders, central defender, the best left back, the best right back, the best midfielder, the best striker, the absolute best striker. So you can't tell me that there's no striker that scored 15, 16 goals in the league. That's hard for me to believe. And then this who you've invited. So it doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't. So but let's see what he can do. We can't do anything about it. He's on the list, but this is my issue. Do we want to win? Do we want to win? Nigerian Football Federation, do you want Nigeria as a country to win the AFCON, to go find the World Cup, maybe win it? Do you really want this team to get to these highest heights? If you do, you can't be giving us this sort of players. You can't. You just can't invite every run of the new player to say, okay, we want to compensate you with this. You've played 20 years in the league, or you've played 15 years in the league. You've not had a national team call up, come and take a call up. That's not what the Super Eagles is meant for. Players with top level potential or who are doing so well in the MPFL. That's if you are looking to invite players from the MPFL, look for the best of the best in the MPFL. Say, okay, this is your opportunity. Victor Osimhen is not there. Ademola Lookman is not there. This is your opportunity to at least take a claim. Obviously, you're not going to bench Victor Osimhen, but at least you can say, I'll come and play so well that even if the coach would always invite Victor Osimhen, he can look at me as the second choice or the third choice because I was that good. But when you're inviting a striker that's got 5 goals and 6 assists when the season is over, in 30 appearances, for me, that's not good enough. Not at all. I want to know what your thoughts and opinions are in the chat. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. It really does help. Like the video and share it as well to those you feel who love content like this. And so let's go on to the last person on here, and we've got Sikiru Alimi. I think he's playing for Remo Star. So Remo Star striker Sikiru Alimi is one of the new boys on the list. He had been in the Chan team previously, but this is his first time with the main team. Okay, fair enough. Alimi contributed 5 goals and 3 assists in 29 appearances, so even less than Abubakar. So that's 5 goals, 3 assists. That's 8 goal contribution in 29 games. That isn't good enough. That isn't good enough. So where is the high goal scorer in the MPFL? Don't we have someone who scored? In fact, while we're talking, I'll see if I can do a little bit of research and bring that up. So how come we're not having the highest goal scorer in the MPFL on this list instead? You're getting someone with 5 goals, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 goals the entire season. And that's the person you want to give this shot. Because this sort of opportunity where Victor Osimhen won't be there, Victor Boniface won't be there. It's not something that comes up so often. So you should be looking to give it to the best player. And that's why for me I say the Super Eagles job as like the coach, for instance, shouldn't be used as a compensation package for class of 94. Then the players that you invite to the national team, you shouldn't be looking to use as compensation. Maybe someone has played in the league for 10 years, someone has played in the league for 15 years, he hasn't got a call up and they say, oh, let's give you call up, I beg. Or welcome, we'll find you this to come play more. No, it should be the absolute best in the league so that they can have the opportunity and show what they can do. So I'll just do a quick research right now. So why are we having the highest goal scorer in the MPFL instead? Why aren't we having that? Rather, we're having players that, that's got 5 goals. That's got 5 goals. That's certainly not good enough. Okay, let's look at this club. All right, so let's have a look. So there's Anas Yusuf. If I'm getting this right, it's Anas Yusuf, left winger, scored in 33 games, scored 18 goals. So why is that? Why isn't he here instead? You know, Anas Yusuf is a winger. He scored 18 goals, in 33 appearances. So why isn't he on here? Why isn't he the one here? Instead of seeing people with 5 goals, we're seeing people with, 3 assists, making, you know, making the list. I know it's almost like you don't have that many players that score a lot of goals in the Premier Football League for whatever reason. But when you have a player that has scored 18 goals, he should be in this team as opposed to a player who scored 5. You should be looking to give the best of the best of the best the opportunity to play in the league, to play in games like this. Because these sort of games, these sort of opportunities don't come around so often. So you've denied. Forget about the dual nationals that I talk about. You've denied those ones, and now even within the home base, the grassroots, the MPFL players, you've denied players who are more deserving of a call up. You've denied them, and then you're inviting, these other players. So for me, I don't like it. I'm not comfortable with it. But people say it's just a glorified friendly match. Of course, that's what it is. But it would have been better to see, players who deserve it more to be on this list, as opposed to, some player I know who probably will just play these games, maybe the game versus Ghana, and you get to play Jamaica, you play Jamaica, and then you play the next friendly match, and that's it. Because you don't have upside. This game ordinarily should be for young players with upside, players in the Nigerian Premier Football League, that are the absolute best, not for players that haven't done quite enough. So this is not, for me. This is not good enough. I'm not happy with this sort of thing. I'm not happy with it at all. But anyways, I'm still open to be convinced. Maybe there's some other reasons why a striker has scored 5 goals in the entire season after playing 30 games for his team. So maybe there's a legitimate reason, maybe injuries or whatever. So, but let's see what he's able to do. And now I'd like to know your score predictions for the game. What do you think is going to happen with how many goals? First of all, do you think this team, as presently constituted, these players on this list, will be able, to score, will be able to defeat Ghana? What are your score predictions? For me, if I'm giving a score prediction, it will be a prediction from the heart, not the head. Because the way this team is right now, I'm not all too convinced. But then again, let's see, Ghana, let's see the players that Ghana will be inviting as well. Possibly, I'm thinking maybe their top player like Kudus may not be invited for this game, may not be able to play this game in this Unity Cup, because I think the seasons are finishing at around the same time. Maybe then gets to be Ghanaian, home-based Ghanaian players. But overall, let's see what it turns out to be. But now, I really want to know your thoughts and opinions on this list, on these new faces, on these players that have been invited. So what are your thoughts on Alimi, Sikiru Alimi? What are your thoughts on Adama Baka? What are your thoughts on Ifeanyi Onyebuchi? So what are your thoughts on these players that have been invited? And then, are you excited for Felix Agu? For me, I am excited about the player because I know what he's able to do. But he won't play in this game, obviously, for obvious reasons. Let's get the paper sorted out. And hopefully, Justin Jima gets to join him. Let's see what they can do as well. And then I want to pose this question to you out there. If you're watching on here, subscribe to the channel. What do you think about the MPF, the Nigerian Premier Football League? What are your thoughts and opinions about it? So, how do you think the league can get better? Because for me, I don't quite get it. Players just keep leaving. The best players, before they even get to 20, 21 years, that are gone, they've left the league. So what can be done to improve the league? For me, I think, first of all, the pay package should be improved. For one, the visibility of the league should be improved, even if it means having a YouTube channel or having an app where you can stream, the matches, make it more, available to people, and also how and when the game is played as well. The scheduling of the game needs to be tweaked around so that people can really have time to watch these matches. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on, in that regards to, the Nigerian Premier Football League, how it can be improved, how it can be made better. Then also let me have your thoughts and opinions on the new faces that have been invited, to be part of this Unity Cup game. For me, without Uche, I'm really excited about this player. I have been calling for this player for a long time now. So happy that he's on this list. And I think he'll get to play because the list is not that stacked. So I think he's going to get the opportunity to play. Hopefully, Eric Chelle plays him. I'm really excited to see what he can do. I'm really hoping that he's able to translate his fine form for Getafe onto the pitch for the Nigerian Super Eagles. Really excited to see him. And then as well, I also want to see Ebenezer Kensimiro at some point be invited to play for the Nigerian Super Eagles. He's on loan at Sampdoria, but at the end of the season, he'll head back to his parent club, Inter Milan, and let's see what happens, from there. But I think he was a bit unfortunate because Perlo was the one who was the coach at Sampdoria, and he really, really liked Ebenezer Kensimiro because I think when you watch Ebenezer Kensimiro play, you see bits of Perlo's game in him. But I think for me, Ebenezer Kensimiro is a Perlo that has physicality. Perlo was very technical on the ball, very, calm and composed on the ball, but he didn't quite have that, physicality, that stamina on the ball. You can't have everything in football, but I think Ebenezer Kensimiro is a Perlo that has physicality. So I think that's why Perlo signed him, but unfortunately, Perlo was sacked. So let's see, maybe in the future, Ebenezer Kensimiro gets to be part of this team. And then in terms of the midfield partnership, for me, Kusanz Uche and Rafa Onyedika must play. They must be part of any midfield setup. And then maybe you have Wilfred Ndidi. What can you do? That's players that have been invited. Just like last time when I was talking about, his second lineup, I said Joe Arebo should start. And people were like, oh, Joe Arebo is not good enough. I know Joe Arebo isn't the best player ever for Nigeria. But you look at what was available in terms of the squad of the players that were invited, then you just have to go with him. You just have to go with him. And then another name I want to mention on this list that I'm sure some of you know what I'm going for now as well is Ahmed Musa. Why is it's another issue I have. He's on this list again, and he's not going to do anything. And he's taking up someone's spot. So that's another question mark for me with respect to those who have invited on here. Cyril Dessas, I'm not quite sure if he's going to play. Tola Rokodare is on this list, so he's made his cap already, so he's not a new face. Cyril Dessas has made his debut before, so he's not quite a new face, so I won't say much about him, but he's had a very fine season, for Rangers with the amount of goals he scored, over 20 goals. So let's see what he can do against your Ghana, against your Jamaica, and your Trinidad Tobago. Let's see how that shakes down. And then we also go on to talk about this other home-based players that have been invited. For me, the jury is really out on this player because when you read the stats of these players, then you begin to scratch your head and you ask yourself, are they the absolute best? Are they the best of the best, in the league? Because for me, that's what you should have been doing. That's what you should be looking for. Look for while you get your foreign based players to come in. If you're inviting the home based players, you go for the absolute best, the absolute best that are available in the Premier Football League. Then those are the ones you invite. You don't just invite every run of the mill player, to the team for whatever reason. That's my opinion. So let me know your opinions as well. And score predictions for this game. How do you think the game versus Nigeria versus Ghana will pan out? Let me see your score predictions as well in the chat. Let me know what you think about that. For me, I just think maybe Nigeria wins a 0-0. Yeah, especially since Ghana as well may not be coming with their full strength side. Same thing with Nigeria. So possibly one goal win the game versus Ghana. and then you go on to play a team like TNT, then you can beat them 3-0 because I don't think they have anyone there. But that is the issue. Will Nigeria, really focus and hone in on that game and be absolutely serious and focus 100%? So, and then usually I would say Nigeria would not even usually. Right now, Nigeria has way better quality than your Trinidad Tobago, but you still have the fact that you have a lot of average players in this team. So another player to talk about is Papa Mustafa. Papa Mustafa, he was invited for the World Cup qualifiers. He didn't get to play. Let's see if he gets the opportunity to play in this game. I've had a lot of MPFL fans raving about him, that he's a top player, a very good player. Let's see if he's able to translate that ability that people think he has, onto this team. And then there was speaking about players that should have been invited, there was this Rangers left back, that's meant to be heading to, newly promoted Premier League side, Leeds United. So he's a left back. So why isn't he on this list if he's meant to be that good? So why aren't we seeing the best of the best players in this list? I don't quite get it. I don't get it. But there you have it. Those are the players. Those are the new faces that we're having on here. And then the likes of your Victor Osimhen and Ademola Lookman will be joining the team, after the last friendly match. But then, before we go, I want to ask you these questions. We have Tula Rokodare. What are your expectations, of him in this game? What are your expectations? And then Victor Boniface. What expectations do you have of Victor Boniface? Is this the last opportunity you give Victor Boniface? Because he's had so many opportunities. He's been invited severally to the Super Eagles, but hasn't quite scored. Hasn't scored goals for the Nigerian Super Eagles. So, is this the final chance you're giving him? Because for me, I feel at some point you have to score. He is a quality player, no doubt, but he just has been struggling for the Nigerian Super Eagles. But to be fair to him, the last game he didn't get to play. He only played a couple of minutes, in the game versus Zimbabwe. And for me, I think Eric Chelle really did not treat him right. So for me, is this the last chance for Victor Boniface to impress you in this Unity Cup, in the friendly matches, and then him being dumped? For me, I just think a game like this, especially friendly, because it's not in this Unity Cup squad, in the friendly match that he's going to be playing, Victor Osimhen is not there. You will be the main guy. You will be the main striker. You have to score your first goals for Nigeria. Same thing with Tola Rokodare. Victor Boniface isn't in this Unity Cup squad. Victor Osimhen obviously isn't in this squad. Ademola Lookman isn't in this squad. So the likes of Tola Rokodare, you have to score. This is your opportunity to score your first goals for Nigerian Super Eagles, or else people begin to jump on your back. It's fine you've won the Ebony Shoe Best African Player in the Belgian League. That's fine. But when you play for the Nigerian Super Eagles, you have to show it. You have to translate that form to the Nigerian Super Eagles. You just have to. No more excuses, because right now you have a free run. All the strikers that should be competing against you are not on the list. Victor Boniface, Victor Osimhen, even Cyril Dessa. I don't think he gets to play, this Unity Cup. I'm not quite sure if he gets to play in the Unity Cup squad. So Tola Rokodare, it's all on you right now. It's all on you right now. You have to show us what you're able to do. You have to show us. Victor Boniface, in the friendly matches that are coming up after Unity Cup, you have to show your ability. You have to show us what you can do. And Eric Chelle as well. The jury is still out on you, Eric Chelle. It's still out. It's still out. Yes, we won against Rwanda. Yeah. And then against Zimbabwe, struggled. The game you should have won. You ended up drawing that game. So the jury is still out. Can you deliver against Ghana? Nigeria doesn't lose against Ghana. In fact, any coach that loses against Ghana, that's a sign that you probably are not meant for the job. So don't take this Unity Cup game as a friendly match or lose against Ghana. No. You have to prove yourself. This is another game to show your tactical ability, to show that fluidity, to show that control, on the ball, control of play. And this list that you've drawn up hasn't given you the best opportunity for that in terms of people in the midfield. But let's see what he's able to do tactically. So Felix Agu is going to be on the Bruno Yemachi is going to be in the team. Ola Aina is going to be in the team. So I'm hoping that Bruno Yemachi gets to start. I hope he gets to start at the left back and not sit out the game on the bench, because that's another thing that hurt Nigeria in the World Cup qualifiers. Because for whatever reason, Eric Chelle refused to play him. I don't get the idea of Eric Chelle doesn't rate him. If Eric Chelle doesn't rate Bruno Yemachi, then something must be wrong with his eyes. What has he been watching? That means he has not done his research properly. So let's say maybe some knock or injuries that no one knew about, those World Cup qualifying games. But come this Unity Cup game, Bruno Yemachi must start. He's gone to Greece and has become a champion there. So that adds more, more strings to his bow. That should give him even more confidence going into this game. So I want to see Bruno Yemachi start. I don't want to. One thing I definitely do not want to see is Ola Aina playing at left back. He's not a left back. Brad Samuel, let's see what he can do as well. But I think right now Ola Aina is just the boss of him right there. I don't want to see that odd thing that Eric Chelle did. The odd thing he did in the World Cup qualifiers, he played Ola Aina at left back and then played Bright Samuel at right back. For me, that doesn't make sense. Play your best players in their best position. That's what you want to see. That's what you absolutely want to see. Then a bit of news coming up about was Victor Osimhen. Victor Osimhen has rejected the chance to join Juventus. For me, what do I think about it? What do you think about it as well? That he rejected the chance to join Juventus. So for me, I said like Juventus right now isn't the club for him to go to. While I admit that Juventus are, a prestigious club, a traditional club in Europe, always in and around the Champions League spots, and they did finish in the Champions League spots, this season that is just about to end, that in the Champions League spot as it is, the way it looks, is the way it appears right now, they will qualify for, one of the Champions League places in this Italian Serie A. But I just think right now, you've been to Serie A, you've done that, you've gone there, you've won the league, you've led Napoli, you should right now look for a Premier League team and go to and show what you can do there as well. Because for me, I still feel the jury's still out on Juventus, and you're not sure who is going to be their coach, because you go Tudor right now, who is the interim manager. For sure, he's not going to be the new coach. So who is going to be the coach? Because if there's talk of Allegri, and we know how Allegri plays, ultra defensive, the strikers really don't have that opportunity to express themselves that much, and you go there and you struggle, people are going to start criticizing you. The same thing happened to Napoli. Under Spalletti, Napoli played a lot of attacking football, always on the ball. Victor Osimhen scored lots of goals, and then Spalletti had to move on to join the Italian national team to be their head coach, and then he had a new coach. And the new coach was playing something different. Victor Osimhen struggled there. And people use that to judge him unfairly. So for me, I just think there's no point going to the Italian Serie A. There's no point going to Juventus, especially because things right now are not still very clear with Juventus. You're not quite clear what they want to do. You're not quite clear the manager, they will be hiring, his style, his approach. Because the manager is very important. Because when Antonio Conte was appointed as Napoli coach, he came in and said, I want Lukaku. He knew of Victor Osimhen, but he loved working with Lukaku. He said, no, I want Lukaku. And that was it. And that just shot the slightest opening for Victor Osimhen. So for me, going to Juventus, going back to the Serie A, shouldn't be on the table at all. For me, there's one club I want him to go to, so he can go there and really, really, really shine. And he's gone to Galatasaray and has proven himself. That's one thing I hope and pray for Victor Osimhen, that, when you go to Galatasaray, you go there and you boss the league. This was Joe Phil. Oga, who are you that you always authoritatively talk about how you are not supposed to be in certain position? Can you play football? Anyways, I know what you're talking about. I don't know what the question is. Who am I to speak authoritatively that certain players should not play in certain position? Is it the strikers they're talking about? If a striker plays 30 games and scores 5 goals, you see that striker is good enough? You see that striker is good enough to be in the team? If that striker is good enough to be in your team, then that's left for you. If you see someone who is a left back, I've been watching football longer than many people have been alive. So if you want to say what you want to say it. That's fine. That's fair enough. Say what you want to say. But if you see who is a left back, performing at left back, someone who's played left back since he was 8, 9, 10, left back, same thing as right back. And then suddenly, it's 28, 29, someone now says, oh, I'm not going to play you at that position where you're a left back. Where you're a left back or where you're right back. I'll play you on the opposite position. Is that wisdom? Is that wisdom? I'm sure you must have watched football for some time. If you watch football, like you see your Victor Osimhen, for instance, has been playing as a striker, then suddenly one coach comes and says, oh, I'll play Victor Osimhen as a number 10. Would you not think that's strange? Would you not think that's strange? You see players, they play a position for a reason. They grow up playing in a position for a reason. They grow up being in that position, getting better, proving themselves over and over again in those positions for a reason. And then you see a coach just comes in and takes the player out from there and put them in that position, and they struggle. We've seen it. This is not only a Super Eagles thing. We've seen it. We've seen this happen. Even with the club I support, with Chelsea, we've seen it happen. Nkunku is a 10 or an 8, and then Maresca chooses to play him as a winger, and he struggles there. And then people say Nkunku is not good enough, but the coach is playing in the wrong position. Right now, James, one of the best right back in the world, Maresca is playing him as a midfielder. People complain about it. He plays Caicedo at right back. People complain about it. So who am I to speak authoritatively about a player playing in a wrongful position? I think if you've watched football for a long time, you've watched a player, you follow the player's career for a while, and then you see that player playing in a different position, you have to question it. That's what football is all about. You have to question why that player is playing in a different position. Especially when you have a fit and capable player to play that other position the player is being played in. Like for Bruno Yimachi that we're talking about. You have Bruno Yimachi, he was on the bench for the World Cup qualifiers. He was on the bench. No talk about whether he has injury or anything. He is a left back. We all know that. He was kept on the bench. Olayana was played at right back, at left back. But we all know he is one of the best right backs in the world. And for me, he is the best right back right now, at least in the Premier League, at least for this season. So he played him at left back, kept Bruno Yimachi on the bench, played Brighton Said Samuel at right back, and you want to say there's nothing wrong with it. You say there's nothing wrong with it. No one should question it. Come on, brothers. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. Positions in football are meant for a reason. Goalkeeper, you're meant to be a goalkeeper. You're meant to be a right back. It's for a reason. People train to play in those positions. So, what authority do I have? Well, I watch football. So at least that should be good enough. So people tell me what authority I have to say players should not play in a particular position. That's just odd to me. But then, when that player plays in the wrong position, some guys will complain. You accuse the player, you insult the player. Oh, this player is not good. But where is the player playing? Is that meant to be his right position? Olayana in the World Cup qualifying game, he played out of position. Did he not struggle? Can you imagine if he played in his rightful position? Wouldn't that have been better? For me, my policy is this with players. You watch a player as a coach, you have your scouting network, whatever. you watch players play for their clubs, you see where they play and they perform very well. You don't just, when you then invite them, you don't just invite them and play them in some other odd position. And then they struggle there, and then fans will come in and begin to accuse the player and begin to criticize the player actually, but the player is being played out of position. For me, play a player in his rightful position. If he struggles playing in that rightful position, then you can criticize, then you can say, this player is not good enough. Look at this player, they played him in the right position, he struggled. Then you can say that. But when you take a striker and play him as a winger, when he struggles, who are you going to blame? Wouldn't you blame the coach for playing him out of position? Even N'Golo Kante, one of the best defensive midfielders in the world. Frank Lampard came to Chelsea, played him out of position. N'Golo Kante looked very, very average. Very average. So it's not something new. It's simple. The basic thing in football. Play players in their rightful position first, before any other tactical thing. Play them in their rightful position first. And that builds the confidence of the player. I'm being played in my rightful position, then I can shine. So playing players out of position is not a nice thing to me, in my opinion. Because nowadays people buy into everything a coach does. You can't criticize the coach, you can't criticize, NFF, you can't criticize anything. You must just say, what they're doing is right. But when the goals don't come, we complain. This guy didn't score a goal. This guy didn't do this. But is he in his rightful place? Players playing out of position, they struggle. I know some people say, Cristiano Ronaldo, he plays a striker now. Cristiano Ronaldo has evolved his career. He used to be a winger. He played all his career as a winger, but as he began to get old, he discovered he no longer had the pace. Then he transformed himself to a striker gradually, and that's it. But that aside, what are your thoughts and opinions on this team overall? Are you happy with the team? You're happy with all the players invited? You're happy with the MPFL players that are invited? Like, I've asked this question. Anas, a player in the MPFL, has scored more goals than Alimi, but he's not in this team. Why is that? Is that fair? Because for me, like I said, you should be, when you have in a country like Nigeria where most of your players, for good reason, usually come from European football leagues. When you're inviting home-based players, you should be inviting the best of the best of the best in the MPFL, because that opportunity to play for the Super Eagles doesn't come that often. So you should be giving your absolute best the opportunity to play, because it has two benefits. The first one is impersonal to the player, because the player comes, he can show what he's able to do, and then can attract scouts or whatever. Not because you're giving him chance to see if he can play, but he's showing his ability. What he's done in MPFL, he takes it and shows it, on that higher level. The second one is good advertising, is good publicity for the league. For the MPFL, when you have the best player in MPFL be part of the Super Eagles, people will do research about who is this guy, people will find out more about him, and then it boosts the brand of the MPFL. When that player gets to play, maybe in this Unity Cup game, when he shows his ability on the pitch, it boosts the brand of the MPFL. This player comes from this club, Enugu Rangers, comes from Rivers United. That would be a good club to produce this sort of player. But when you bring a player that has been struggling in the MPFL, and then he comes to the Super Eagles and struggles there, what do you think people say about the MPFL? What do you think the international press will say about the Nigerian Premier Football League? What do you think people will say? Do you think people will say, that's good? Someone who has struggled at the MPFL, do you think he's going to play well? Do you think he's going to play well on the international scene at a higher level? No, he's going to struggle still. So Let's leave all these things. I know some people feel like even with this is not even a Nigerian thing. This is something that is all over the world. You're talking with some Chelsea fans. Maresca could take a goalkeeper and make him a striker, and you have some fans saying, "Yeah, yes, good, that's good, that's good. Oh yes, yes, yes." But it's not working. If you watch it, you see the player struggling, being played out of position. That's the basic thing. Don't play players out of position. Play them in the right position, especially when you have players who are fit, who are available, who are very good in that other position. There's no need. That World Cup qualifying game, there was no need. You're playing against Zimbabwe, you're playing against Rwanda. There was absolutely no need for Ola Aina to be left back and Bruno Yemachi on the bench. There was absolutely no need. No need. There was no benefit either. There was nothing you could say, okay, this is a massive benefit that we got. Oh, Ola Aina was able to cut onto his right foot and dribble and score from that left back position. There was no benefit. Play players in the rightful position. Nigeria is not San Marino, where if one player is injured, then you can't get another player to play. You have quality everywhere. Use them. This is a message to the Nigerian Football Federation, Eric Chelle, National Sports Commission. There are players all over, both from Nigerian grassroots, both from, as in those that grew up in Europe, Spain, England, whatever. You have players that have ability. Use them, as opposed to inviting players that are not good enough, and then you're having to force yourself to play players out of position. Asking me, can I play football? But would you go and would you go on Sky Sports and ask everybody that is there if they can play football when they give you opinion? So for me, well, football, everyone is entitled to their opinion. That's it. So what do you think about the team overall? You're happy with everybody that's in the team? You're happy with those who have been invited? So do you think that other players that could have been invited from the NPFL? For me, I was of the opinion that this under-20 team that played in this World Cup qualifier, that played in this AFCON under-20, though they were not the best of the best, one or two players like Eric Porabo, because he has shown all through his time at the grassroots level, he's shown how he's developing with Lillestrøm, and I think he scored a goal in this under-20 AFCON tournament, though he struggled to score goals because of the way the team was set up. I was thinking that he should have opportunity like this to showcase what he can do. As well, I was thinking Onyebuchi Obasi, this should have been an opportunity to showcase what he can do as well. Because one thing that happens, Brazil, for instance, once they have the wonder kid, once they have an exciting talent, they find ways to promote him in their domestic league. When they get to play friendly matches, they bring those players in. They find ways to promote their own players. The player comes in. Argentina, the same thing. England, the same thing. Spain, the same thing. Lamine Yamal is 17 years. I tell you, if Lamine Yamal was Nigerian, he wouldn't have played by now. Who would have given an excuse? Who would have given you all sorts of excuses? Oh, he's playing for Barcelona. Forget, he's not 17 years old. He needs more time, to grow a mustache before he plays for Nigeria. Who will give you all sorts of reasons? But he was given chance in Barcelona, he took it. He was given chance in the Spanish national team, he took it, and now he's the mainstay of their team. And then like Ahmed Musa, what is he doing there? So all the years people watch football, you see Ahmed Musa, you wouldn't say he's declining. I've seen what happened to Peter Rufai. Peter Rufai, I would say one of Nigeria's best goalkeepers. One of Nigeria's absolute best goalkeepers. But they kept inviting him to the team. Even as they struggled, they're still inviting him until he embarrassed himself at that World Cup. And then some people even almost forgot all the good he did. He almost forgot all the good he did in the past, in Tunisia 94, in USA 94. So Ahmed Musa inviting him, you're taking the spot of a young, exciting talent, whether dual national or someone from the grassroots. You're denying people opportunity to play. Even the MPFL players you've invited, you're not inviting the best ones. You're not inviting the absolute best. That's what you should be doing. You're not inviting those ones. And some people think that is good, that is nice, that will help Nigerian football. It will not. It will not help Nigerian football when you invite players that are not good enough. It's not going to help anybody. So, and then what I want to speak about again is this. I've talked about Victor Osimhen. What do you think about his supposed move to Juventus that he's somehow rejected? Let's see what happens. We know he's also on the list for Chelsea. Let's see if that happens. I'll be so happy if he goes there. But these owners at Chelsea, you know how their brain is almost like it doesn't work. They rather sign one 19-year-old, who has scored 3 goals, and pay 10 million rather than pay 65 million for a top class player. Well, that's another discussion for another day. Ademola Lookman, possibly, I think he should come to the Premier League. That's my opinion. Juventus are also interested in Ademola Lookman. But for me, like I said with Victor Osimhen, there's still a cloud ahead, above Juventus. No one knows what the new coach is going to do. The tactical setup, because you don't want to commit and sign for a club, and then the coach becomes the pharaoh that knows not Joseph, and begins to play you in weird positions, and sets up the team differently, and begin to struggle. So I think the Premier League will be suitable for him if Barcelona. Barcelona, they've shown interest in Luis Diaz of Liverpool that plays on the left wing. So if Luis Diaz moves to Barcelona, I think that then presents a unique opportunity, for Ademola Lookman. If he goes to Liverpool, that means you then have a dual threat in Liverpool. As Salah will be doing it on the right, cutting onto his left to score, Ademola Lookman could be doing it on the left, cutting onto his right to score. And that can be a real serious threat for Liverpool. So let's see how that happens. Then, of course, Tolu Arokodare has been linked to a lot of clubs. He's been linked to, Newcastle, Bayern Munich, even Dortmund. For me, like I've said in previous videos, a move to Bayern Munich is something you should be careful about, because a big club could be interested in you. It's nice, it's exciting, and you can be blinded by the size of the club. But sometimes I think you should step back, look at your opportunities to play, which is the most important thing. Because Harry Kane will be there for the next 2 to 3 years, and I don't think he's leaving anytime soon. And they only play with one lone striker. So if you're signed, that means you're immediately a backup. You're not going to bench, Harry Kane. You're immediately a backup. Dortmund, the only time I would say Tolu Arokodare should go to Dortmund is if Guirassy leaves, because he scored lots of goals for Dortmund and possibly right now is attracting interest from other clubs in Europe. So maybe if he's signed and he lives there, then that creates an opening for Tolu Arokodare. And then Newcastle too is similar to me as well. It's a similar situation rather. If Alexander Isak goes to Liverpool or is bought by another club, then that will present a good opportunity for Ademola Lookman, because at Newcastle they play to the strengths, of their striker. So he can go there. If he goes to Newcastle, scores 15, 16 goals, or is able to score 20 goals, in a season for Newcastle, he'll be heading to a top club. He'll be heading to a top club. I know Newcastle fans will say Newcastle is a top club. Of course, they're a top club, but you'll be heading to a topper club, anything like that. So all this interest, Chukwueze as well. There's talk of him moving to Fulham. I think he should leave the Italian Serie A, because there's a lot of confusion around AC Milan right now. No one's really sure who their head coach is, who is their head coach, who their head coach is going to be going into the 2025-2026 season. I think it's the right time for him to move. Fulham wanted to sign him, in January, but for some reason that didn't quite work out. The transfer didn't quite pull through. So I think they could possibly visit that again, come the end of this season and the opening of the summer transfer window. That could be a unique opening for him. I think that's a place that he can move to and shine as well. So that's this way. have some transfer sort of news, and I'm giving my opinions about it. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on all things we've discussed. We've talked about the Unity Cup squad. What thoughts on it? Thoughts on Victor Osimhen, Ademola Lookman, Tularu Kodare, and their club links. Let me know. And at this point, I want to say thank you so much for supporting this channel, for giving your opinions, for subscribing to the channel. It really does mean a lot. I love to have your opinions and have this debate and have this discussion with people. If you want to come on screen and debate with me on some issues, let's go. Football, supporting your team and having opinions about your team, that's what football is all about. So at this point, I've come to the end of today's video, and hopefully